I can join.
Oh, I see. Okay, so under participants, you could see on the lower right hand, at least on my screen, you could say raise hand. So that's what I'm hoping that Laurel's going to pay attention to that. And so as we're speaking, if someone has something to say, then she'll go, oh, okay, so-and-so is next. So she'll be paying attention to that. And I'd ask when you're speaking, if you could just be mindful of the time. And when we're voting, because we're not going to all be in person, I would suggest that we would have a thumbs up for voting yes, say for the minutes, and a thumbs down if you're voting against something, rather than everybody raising their hand. That would, I'm hoping we're going to see most everyone. So
I did want to let everybody know that we are, as you saw, we are recording the meeting. I'll be working with Alyssa probably early next week to get that together, and we'll try to get it posted probably on Alyssa was saying on our YouTube channel, and that way it would be publicly accessible. So
great.
I don't see a place to do thumbs up, thumb down.
No, it just, I guess I was thinking everybody had a video. So I guess we'll just have to maybe take a voice vote then for those that aren't having on video. So we might have to just go one person at a time. Does that sound reasonable? So I see there's not everybody is, has a video on. Oh, there you are. David doesn't have a video, so we might have to have him speak it. So it is a little bit later, so I'm going to just start. We're going to start with introductions. So what I'd like to do is, maybe what I'll do is just call on each member, and what I'd like to have you do is just state who you are, and then what city, or yeah, if you're from Eugene or Springfield, and if you're on a subcommittee, just to let all the new members know who's on what subcommittee. So I'll just start with myself. I'm Vicki Mello. I'm in Eugene. I'm the chair, and I'm also on Government Relations Subcommittee. Laurel, why don't you go next?
Hi, I'm Laurel Burke. I'm the vice chair. I am the co-chair of the Habitat Committee and the Talking Stones Committee on the Eugene side.
And Tilka?
Could you?
Can you unmute?
Sorry about that. I'm Tilka Elkins. I live in Springfield, and I'm the co-chair of the Talking Stones Subcommittee.
Thanks.
And Charlotte, why don't you go next? Charlotte?
Oh yeah, okay. Okay. I'm Charlotte Bim, and I'm from Springfield, and I'm on the Talking Stones Subcommittee. I'm also, as you can probably tell, the secretary.
So Joseph, why don't you go next?
Okay, I'm Joseph Calverth. I'm from Springfield. I'm on the co-chair of the Habitat Committee, and I help out with Talking Stones when they're doing something.
Great. And Ruth?
Hello, it's lovely to see everyone's faces. I'm from Eugene, and I'm trying to get Outreach Subcommittee relaunched, and I've been hovering in other subcommittees. So that's what I'm doing.
Great. Nick?
Hi, I'm Nick, or Nicholas. I'm from Eugene, and I'm a new board member, not officially in any committee yet, but I've been getting notifications from Year by Nature. Not sure if that means I'm part of that committee, but yeah, by next quarter, I don't know.
Cool. Terry?
I'm Terry Kimball. I'm from Springfield, and I'm on the Talking Stones and Habitat subcommittees.
Thank you. Marta?
Hello, everybody. I'm Marta Clifford. I'm from Springfield. I'm a new member, and I'm on the Talking Stones subcommittee.
Thank you. Salmon?
Well, I'm Sam from the Eugene side of things, and I'm also on the Talking Stone Subcommittee.
And David? If you can unmute yourself, David.
I tried to do that unmuting on my screen, but that didn't work. So David Sonicson from Eugene Government Relations Subcommittee.
Excellent. Now we're going to have Jesse.
Hi, everybody. Jesse Carey Hobbs. I'm the City of Eugene Parks and Open Space Division Natural Area Operations Supervisor, and I'm also the CPC's liaison for the City of Eugene.
And Eric?
Hi, Eric Adams, Willamette Park and Recreation District, filling in for Fraser McDonald this evening, who is our typical liaison to the CPC.
Thanks. So I think is there someone from Nearby Nature on that?
I think I have them as attendees. I can pop them on there. And
She has got her hand raised.
Let's see if I can do this here.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, Nearby Nature is talking. That would be me.
Yeah.
Can you see me or just hear my unembodied voice?
We can see your picture and hear your voice.
Oh. Okay, so, oh, there I am. Okay, I will make myself visible so that you can, there.
Yay.
I was eating my dinner a minute ago. I will stop doing that now. I still have my mask on. You can see I was at Nearby Nature today. What am I supposed to be doing? Just introducing
Or just
myself, right?
introducing.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I'm Beth Stein. I'm the director of Nearby Nature, and Will, who is here also, I believe. Is Will here?
I just promoted Will so he could show his face if he chooses.
Okay. Will and I, for those of you who haven't met us before, I and the park host at Nearby Nature usually trade back and forth, and one of us will attend this meeting every quarter. And right now we're both here today because Will is new and he would like to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Will. I am the latest park host at Nearby Nature. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you all for having me. Just excited to help in any way I can, and open to any input available.
Excellent.
Thanks, Will.
If you can promote Renee Jones and she could introduce herself. I hope.
Yep, she should be able to.
Renee, are you there?
I'm not sure if you can see me, but I'm Renee Jones. I'm a board member with the Willamette Park and Recreation District, and we receive quarterly reports about the CPC, and I was just interested in attending a meeting. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, welcome. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, before each meeting, I'm going to read our etiquette for our CPC meetings, just so everyone is aware. Since we are a public body, the point of the group is to collaborate and work towards the goals spelled out in the park plan and the bylaws, which are the founding documents of our committee. In order to achieve these goals, we're asking for an environment where supporting each other and productive, positive communication is a top priority. We expect respect with each voice, no talking over others, and allow complete discourse. Come prepared to make decisions. This means reading all the pertinent material ahead of time for the meeting, since we are only going to meet on a quarterly basis. Meeting facilitator will elicit feedback from each member during discussion issues where a motion may take place. This supersedes the concept of Robert's rules where hands are raised and the chair acknowledges the speaker. In this case, what we're going to do is Laurel's going to keep track of who would like to be speaking, and she'll be able to share that. Should it be necessary to interject, the speaker will just raise their hand. We ask that the committee members turn off their phones, iPads, anything that's going to be distracting. from work with the members. Again, it's only 4 times a year, so it's important for members to engage. Productive communication is fostered when all voices are heard, acknowledged, and acted upon in a compassionate manner. Please do your part. Thank you all for your time and your attention. So I'd like to move on to the icebreaker we have. We're going to normally just have each one of the CPC members, since our time is a little short already. I'd like to have each one of us be able to say where you think you would take an out-of-town visitor to the Willamut natural area of Alton Baker Park. So I think all of you might have been to the park, I hope. So I'd like to start, how about with Charlotte?
Oh, I've taken a lot of out-of-town visitors to the Talking Stones. Usually in Springfield because it's not so far a walk.
Sure. And Laurel?
I would probably take them to the duck pond because it has such a wild, lot of diversity in the wildlife.
Okay. How about you, Nicholas? Where have you been? If you had a chance to walk around, where would you like to take people in the park?
I have taken people to the duck pond just because there is a lot of things to interact with. There's that solar system display I always found that was really fascinating. It's like, yeah, we got this replica, and not only that, we do have a lot of biodiversity over there. I like to show people, and just all the recreational activities that are there too. It's one of my favorite places to take people.
Cool. How about in the natural area over, have you taken to the pond over by the Walnut Street where there's a little bridge going across at all?
Not there, but I have taken people along the North Bank path of the Willamut natural area. So just to take in the scenery over there.
Excellent. How about you, Ruth?
I like to wander anywhere where the faster water can be seen, especially at this time of year when it's so hot. It can be nice to think about the refreshing, life-giving water down there. Any of those bridges with the cool stencils on them. Pretty proud to say that I'm part of the committee that helps with keeping that natural area natural. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. How about you, Joseph?
Well, I like to go down to the end of my block and go in through D Street, and I usually take people along the river, the paths that close to the river, and we make a loop all the way down to where the path joins the road and go over by the pond, the turtle pond or whatever it's called over there, and then we walk back along the canal to D Street again, make that loop.
That's definitely a nice walk. Tilka? Let's get her unmute.
I like to take people on the southern path that's along the river that is walking but no biking path. There's a talking stone there and it's really close to the water and really lovely.
Excellent. Salmon?
I often take people, another loop route that Eugene is actually famous for in Springfield is take them in a canoe up the canoe canal and then down the river, and especially checking out the licorice ferns underneath the bridges in the canoe canal.
Oh, wow, that's cool. Marta?
I, of course, take them on a tour of the Talking Stones, but then I make sure I have a little bit of time to take them to the mural of the Kalapuya in their canoes under the bridge, and hope all the people aren't running or biking too fast so we can look at both sides where the camas are growing on the other side.
Oh, that's great. Terry, did I call on you?
No. The last person I took in the Willamette natural area was our exchange student from Finland, who's now returned to Finland, and we did a bicycle tour of all of the talking stones.
Oh, sweet. David?
Just behind the Kamafima talking stone are 2 trees in Wildflower Hollow, which when they were small were affected by flooding before the dams were put in upriver, and so they have bends in them. And they're both on the side of what is now far inland, but was once Day Island. And on one of those trees, there's a wooden panel that has 3 protrusions from it that used to have private telephone or electrical lines way back probably in the 1920s or so.
Nice. And when I, depending on what time of the year, when I have visitors come through, I enjoy taking them just west of the Frohnmeyer Bridge through what is known as Wildflower Hollow, especially in the spring with all the natural, the wildflowers. Most of them smell really, really sweet, and there's such a variety of them around there, but I also like to ride over to that turtle pond to be able to see if we can see any great blue herons or what other kind of, if there's cormorants around, or maybe lucky enough to see an osprey that's hovering over that wants to see if there's any fish coming up to the surface there to feed their young. So I think we're doing pretty good on time here. So I think what I ask everybody to do is to review the agenda. And if anybody has any suggestions for any adjustments. I don't think we have any hands raised or anything. If not, then I think I'd like to move on to the approval of the January 23rd, 2020 meeting minutes. So hopefully everybody's had a chance to read through it. I haven't seen any edits come back to me when they were sent out back in the beginning of July, even before that. So do I hear any edits to the minutes? If not, I would like to.
Sam has his hand up.
Sam.
No, I lowered my hand. I thought you were asking for approval. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So I'd ask for a motion if there's no adjustments to the minutes.
Motion to approve minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. So all in favor, if you could thumbs up since we can see everyone. Looks like, I think we all have a agreement.
David, was that you that seconded it?
No.
I did it.
Joseph.
Joseph,
yeah.
So I'd like to talk about right now is, public comment. And I'm sorry, I think is Bill on this?
Yeah, Bill's on there. Alyssa, is he?
I think I have him allowed to talk now.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill, I don't think I allowed you to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm here.
Well, thanks.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay. I'm Bill Maloney. I live just adjacent to the park by I-5. With COVID, I've walked 1,100 miles or so in the last 5 months in the park and adjacent areas. Nothing else to do, might as well walk. For public comments, is it time to go ahead and get a couple in?
Yes.
Okay. I actually would have, as far as the icebreaker, would have said the heron rookery in the Eastgate Woodlands. That's a place I aim for in the springtime, in addition to the foxes. The foxes survived the heavy traffic in the park, particularly there when we were supposedly locked down. I saw people walking through the fox dens saying, "Oh, I see a dog down there. Is it loose?" But I guess the park survived. I have a comment on the electric scooters, and I'm not sure whether that's going to come up later, but I think that's the one thing I would like to make a comment on, is that the micro-mobility devices are being used for commuting now. There's a mono-wheel, there's scooters, there's an electric skateboard, and they're going from Springfield into Eugene to work. I know there's a lot of discussion that I think this committee is going to get involved with. I just as soon see them banned from the park completely, but on a practical basis, people are commuting now. And it seems like maybe one thing we could do would be to keep them on the main roads rather than the narrower trails along the North Bank Trail, for example. If there's any more questions or comments, I'll be glad to add them. If it's brought up later and I'm able to be brought back in, that's fine, but that's all I've got. I'd like to see you all in person one of these days soon.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks.
Bill.
Renee, would you like to have any public comment at all, or?
No, I appreciate the offer. I'm just here to observe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Excellent. Well, I think this will lead into, I think we were gonna, I was gonna briefly mention the scooters, but I'll do that a little bit later. And so I'd like to now speak about subcommittees. I've sent out a summary of what of the subcommittees that that CPC is presently has 4 of them, to the new members that came on this year. And I think a few have already signed up for the Talking Stone subcommittee. But the 4 subcommittees that we have are the Talking Stone subcommittee, the Wildlife Habitat subcommittee, Government Relations subcommittee, and then also the Outreach subcommittee. And each one of them deals with obviously different ones. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity for everyone each member decide if they want to stay on a subcommittee, or if there's anybody would like to be able to transition to another subcommittee. So I thought, especially the new members, does anybody have any questions about specific to any subcommittees that you might be interested in? Okay.
I see no hands raised.
So would it be helpful if we each chair or co-chair talked a little bit about well, that's going to be in the subcommittee reports. So I guess I'll just go through and ask each member then if there is a desire to stay on the subcommittee or switch to another one. So I'll start it with myself. I'm on the Government Relations Subcommittee, and I think I will probably just stay on that. So then I'm going to move over to, say, I'll pick Martha. I'm just looking at different squares, so I'm trying to do different.
Well, this time I'm on the Talking Stones subcommittee, and of course I would like to stay on that. However, in the future, I might like to look into being on another one, such as a habitat.
Okay. So it sounds like somebody's like typing away, and I'm not sure who that might be. Wonder if whoever might be typing, they could mute themselves. So David, I'll ask you you're a new member.
I want to stay on government relations. I've been on the Talking Stones subcommittee years ago and even outreach, but I'm fine where I am and I appreciate the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. So Charlotte, I'll ask you.
I'm on the Talking Stones subcommittee, and I was on the outreach forever until I transitioned over to this. I was probably on it for, I mean, many years. But right now I'm just focused on the Talking Stones. But if we were doing, yeah, if we did outreach and like into the community, I would probably be interested in doing that too.
Thank you. Ruth?
Hello, I am trying to get the outreach subcommittee back up and running, so actively recruiting. Thanks, Charlotte, and anyone else who wants to do some outreach. I chatted with Laurel about helping with just some website edits and just suggestions about how to improve the content for the City of Eugene webpage and any other public-facing electronic media that exists, and then not really interested in launching major social media things, but probably more in-person sort of outreach. But that's what I'm at.
So on that, I was just going to ask you that, do you have contact information for the city?
I think Laurel has some contact information, and
okay.
I met and chatted about a few of the edits, and I was going to receive a contact at the city, which I don't have yet.
Okay.
Yeah, ready to act on that one.
Sure. So I believe there's a person, I think her name was Alyssa, but I could be wrong. Jesse, can you?
Yeah, Alyssa was the one that met with us along with Jesse.
Yeah, I'm happy to hook you up, Ruth, with Alyssa. So I'll
Great.
follow up after the meeting. I'll follow up with you.
Yeah, and I'll probably reach out to the whole committee, but thinking about things like what images would look really good. We've got a few banner images, but other Eugene City websites have a little bit more color and a little bit different design, and just exploring the options that we have for that web page and making sure it's at least up to date with the content and the contact information.
Excellent. And Joseph?
I'm co-chair of the Habitat, which I thoroughly enjoy, and I guess I'm unofficially on the Talking Stones. I like to participate whenever they do something, but if I guess I could be officially a member of that committee as well.
Wow, okay. And Tilka?
I'm co-chair of the Talking Stones subcommittee, and I'm quite happy there. And Ruth, I'd be interested in helping contribute images, photographs to the website if that is needed.
Excellent. And so Laurel, I think you're the next one.
I am the co-chair of the Talking Stones Committee and the Wildlife and Habitat Committee. I'm fine where I'm at.
Okay. And Nicholas, you've heard a little bit about it, so not to put you on the spot, but I guess I am. You don't have to make a decision right now, but I guess if you want to say your preferences or whatever, that would be fine.
Okay. Yeah, I just misunderstood the committees earlier, but I'll be interested in outreach, anything that involves public relations. Yeah. So that will be my top pick.
Okay. Excellent. So I think we're going to move on to reports now, and hopefully everybody's been able to read the great Nearby Nature report that we well received. And I'd ask one of our Nearby Nature representatives if there's just a summary of one or two things that you'd like to state, or maybe Will, you could give us you gave us a little background, but if there's a little bit more that you want to say.
Sure. How about if I do a quick little summary and then I can turn it over to Will because he can maybe do a little bit more of an introduction of himself. He's said a couple things. You guys got our whole report, so I won't go into great detail. I guess, it just kudos to Will and his family because they did move in right before everything all went to what. Literally got themselves moved in. We got our former park hosts moved out and moved into their home in Springfield, which was really fortunate timing wise. But also it set them up to not really get the normal sort of welcome and training and here you are part of the Nearby Nature family, because we pretty much had to evacuate the house and give the house over to Will and his family because it was their house and we haven't been going in and out of the house for most of the last few months, which leads to one of the things that's going on with us is we put on the front burner now a plan that we've had for a long time to try to move our office out of the Park Host residence so the Park Host residence could be more of a long-term place that was appealing to stay for park hosts, because having someone come in and out of your house every day to the office is not ideal. So we put that on the front burner. We're considering making what we call the nature hut into our office. We have one of our great volunteers is looking into this. And so there may be, come September, hopefully Will be learning some new skills and making a new office for us. And we'll keep you all posted on that because if you have any skills in this area, we'd love to have your volunteer help. Will's been busy doing things with camps and with, he's a great tree guy, so he noticed the trees being tagged. He's a tree climber himself and has done tree work. And so if you ever see somebody up in the trees with all sorts of ropes, it's probably Will. And we're determined to get a Nearby Nature staff tree climb going sometime. But he does know a lot about trees and he noticed some graffiti going and he got some good tips about how to deal with that. We had one little scare last month with a pretty mentally unstable man walking into the landscape and being threatening and pulling things out of our garden and very unpleasant person all around. Luckily, he didn't do ton of damage or hurt anybody, but that was a little scary for Will and company. That was reported. Let's see. Will says there have been some rallies and Black Unity Group, some rallies in the park, which have been overwhelmingly positive, and that's a good thing to know. Our tag team volunteers are continuing, including Vicky and Cynthia, have been continuing to keep the Fromeyer footbridge and below nice and not tagged. And we really don't get a ton of tags. So I still think that project that we did now 2 summers ago, August of 2018, with the stencils on the bridge, I would call it a great success because it still looks beautiful. One of the colors is fading a little bit. I think we'll have to address the light green, but pretty much it looks beautiful and we really haven't had nearly as much tagging issues since that happened. We've got a couple interns we're about to get geared up to help out. Haven't had much volunteer work since we last met because pretty much things shut down and it was hard to get volunteers and people involved. I think as we go forward into the fall, we'll be looking more at how we can do more with the volunteers and restoration because it'll be the season, but also it is something you can socially distance and do. So we'll be looking into how to get more people involved. Let's see, Will, why don't you take a moment to introduce a little bit more about yourself and I'll do the program summary at the very end.
Okay, I am Will. I have a pretty varied work history leading up to this. The last 3 years I did IT work for a software company, but I always feel like I identify more as a tree guy. And yeah, I love this job. It was a little bit of an adjustment coming in during COVID, but Nearby Nature has been great at all the precautions they've taken. And yeah, it's just been really great to be here. I don't think I have a whole lot to add to the introduction that I wrote. My wife's here with me, my wife and son. My son's gonna go to Sheldon next year and my wife works for a software company downtown. I think that's about it.
I have to say that Will may not be like enchanted anymore with his IT background, but one of the first things he did for us, which was a godsend, was because I am not an IT person. We needed to be working remotely, and our computers are horrible. And so I bought a laptop, and Will got it all set up, and my coworker Grace, who's our education coordinator, has a laptop that works for her, and she's been commuting back and forth. I mean, she's on site now, but during the whole sort of lockdown, she was working from Vita very successfully on her computer, and I was just so grateful that Will could just do that. I could say, Will, we need this, and he took care of it. And I have other plans for him too when we actually have an office, but that's, you know, he is a man with lots of different talents, and that IT was really welcome. So, what'd you say?
Can I interject?
Is there another one in the other room, or where's the other one?
Sam, I think, is wanting to interject for a moment.
Yeah, I think there's one.
Hold on.
I think Sam might have just unmuted himself accidentally. So,
he had his hand raised.
Sam, did you want to say something?
Okay, sorry, Beth, go ahead.
Okay. So as Will mentioned, we've another one of the job duties that Will was not anticipating was the master sanitizer, because we have camps going, and
I was left.
As of the middle of May, when the state of Oregon said yes, you can do day camps, we got overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, parents, yay, hooray. So we've pretty much been full. It's been interesting because we have a lot of cancellations, but a lot of people who fill in the spots. So there's both things going on. Parents are very wary and concerned, and parents are really grateful. And mostly we've been full, but we do a lot of sanitizing. Will steps in between camps sometimes and sprays things down and fills the soap bottles and the sanitizer, and just, it's a whole new thing we had to do this summer. It's been successful though. I mean, I think the kids are having a good time. It's pretty stressful for our staff, just the whole number of things we have to reinvent. We had a pretty good thing going before, and I hope to go back to that someday, but we're making it work for this summer, and kids are outside, which is really great. We're looking into what we can do for the fall, and I'm literally just now starting to talk to other groups in town, other nonprofit groups that work with kids, to see how do we fit in, how are we going to help support teachers and students and families in a way that is both sustainable for us and, you know, legal, because there's certain things you can't do when school's going on. You can't just decide you're having a program, but we're working around that. We're talking to lots of people. We'll hopefully be having some things going in the fall. And we did when the whole shutdown happened, we did do a whole bunch of things that were new for us. Like we have some Zoom programs. We actually did one yesterday with Rick Ahrens, who some of you know, who's a master bug guy. We had a bug quest. We also send out regular emails to families and teachers that have activities for kids once a week, twice a week. We also set up an iNaturalist project called the Natural Neighbors Project. So we've had a lot of things going that will probably keep going. The Network Charter School probably will not open in person for at least a couple of months this fall. So that will leave a little bit of space for us maybe to use the yurt for something different. But I'll be supporting our teachers who work with Network Charter School, which is a huge challenge to get kids to come to school when it's remote, and to continue to serve them, especially when it's a school that is founded on being hands-on. So that's going to be a challenge. And I guess the only other thing I have to say is just that if anybody is interested in volunteering and helping out with Will and restoration work in the park or in our gardens, or even wants to come and help out with kids, we have a need for volunteers this summer. And we also have a need for financial support. So if anybody has been hankering to find somebody who could use a little bit of extra funding, that might be us. And we love working with all of you, and we look forward to seeing what you guys get going for the fall.
Okay.
Any questions from anybody? Okay, and both Will and I may need to exit, other things that need to go on tonight, but we'll stick around for a while. But if we leave, it's not because we're tired of seeing you all, but it's just that we have other things to do.
Okay.
Is there any particular thing that you need from us beyond this tonight, Vicki?
No, I think you did a great job. I appreciate that. And if someone does have questions, I'm sure they can contact you afterwards too.
Okay. Yeah.
That'd be
I
great.
have a question.
But I do want
Someone had a question. David had a question.
Can I ask a question now?
Yeah.
Quickly?
Sure.
For both Beth and Will, how satisfied were you with the law enforcement response you got to the disturbed person coming into the Learnscape?
I'll turn that over to Will because I think he's got some thoughts on that.
I was not satisfied. They never came. We called 911 twice. Let's see, yeah, about 45 minutes apart, 2 911 calls, no response whatsoever.
Joseph?
I have a question.
Joseph has
I was wondering if they tried to contact Cahoots.
We did. We tried to contact Cahoots first, and they were completely overwhelmed and weren't able to respond either.
Okay.
Anyone else? I don't see any more hands.
I think I did overlook Salmon when I was talking about different subcommittees. So Salmon, are you still there? I know he's going to have to leave soon, so I'm not sure if he's still there.
I think he got.
I'm trying. I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, I'm staying on the committee, Talking Stones committee.
Okay. Did you want to just take a little mention on what's happening in August for you?
You mean the River Festival?
Right.
It's happening now, actually. So the Willamette River Festival is happening August 15th through the 22nd, but the race, which goes up the canal and down the river, actually opened a couple days ago. And it's open for a month long. The festival this year is mostly online and self-guided tours. We're also planning to do small group interaction if the situation allows. But I'd encourage folks to go to our festival website, Willamette River Fest, and see what's happening there. I, of course, can talk a lot more about it, but yeah, it's exciting that we're still going, and it's a large part in the Willamette Natural Area. So
okay.
There's the race, there's Talking Stones guided tour, or self-guided tour, as it may end up being. There's a iNaturalist component. There's a native plant component, and a lot of paddling that will happen in the river and the canal.
Could you maybe send all the CPC members just a link to that website?
Yeah, I had to move my phone, so it's hard to do that. I had it set up. Let me see if I can. I may have to.
Well, you can just do it
I'll see what I
sometime
can do.
today or tomorrow. Not that you have to do it.
Okay, yeah, I'll email it outside of Zoom.
That'd be great.
I will email it out. Yeah, sorry, I don't know if you heard me. I will email it outside of Zoom.
Okay. Thanks, Sam. And I have you still on the Talking Stone subcommittee. Sorry for the
Great.
omission. Yeah.
No worries. I didn't need to interrupt Beth and Will from Nearby Nature for that. I just want to let you know I'm in.
Okay. So is there any other questions for Nearby Nature then? If not, then I think we'll move on to the parks reports then. And hopefully everybody's read them. But first of all, Jesse, if you have any highlights that you wanted to talk to us about.
Well, you know, there's a lot in there. Let's see. You guys probably, some of you may have seen, I don't know if you're aware that there was a little fire in the park. We were, as usual, unable to get any information about really much information from Eugene Fire about what happened. My guess is that it was just a typical response with no one around and someone saw a fire. But it actually ended up being under an acre in size. Lori went out recently. Lori Holtz, our ecologist, went out and walked the perimeter with a GPS, and it looks like it's about 0.6 of an acre in size. So smaller than originally thought. Relatively minimal damage in terms of that it caused. I think as I said in there, I think, you know, those kind of fires in mostly grasslands tend to reinvigorate grasslands. So it's, you know, obviously part of the natural ecology, at least humanistic ecology of the Willamette Valley. So,
Is that an unplanned prescribed burn, Jesse?
yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, we joke a lot about that in parks because we can't really get prescribed burns in the Willamette, you know, because of smoke concerns with I-5. So, but in reality, you know, yeah, I mean, we haven't had a fire in the Willamette for a couple of years. The kind of arsonist homeless feller who was living in the park for a while hasn't been around. We were all kind of wondering if he's back or not, but I guess we'll see. All in all, at least with this fire, no harm, no foul. So, homeless camping stuff, you know, obviously this is a difficult topic, right, for our community, and we're really trying to figure out as a community how we're going to deal with kind of a drastic increase in homelessness in our community, and how we're going to address that. And I know that Eugene City Council is looking for solutions and looking for longer term housing and that sort of thing. During the initial wave of COVID-19, we suspended camping enforcement in parks and the right of way in the city, and we've since resumed that work. We had, you know, we saw the result of that was a lot of garbage and debris, a lot of citizens who felt unsafe, and we're back to humanely asking people to move on, to try to limit the damage to natural area sites in parks. Not just natural area sites, but just in general, limit the damage to the park sites. You know, that obviously we're spending a lot of time thinking about that and trying to figure out what the right way through as a city is. You know, Parks and Open Spaces stance really is that parks are not necessarily the places where we should be having encampments in the city, that we should be buying land and or dedicating places that are sustainable locations for camps if we're going to have them. But all that said, as you guys all know, it's very difficult to find locations that don't bother adjacent neighbors and are palatable to local businesses and others. So it's a challenge for Eugene. But we have been working in the Willamut, and I think you see, you know, anyone who's out there on a regular basis who may have seen an increase in camping in April and May, you know, should now be seeing that there's less of that happening in the parks, including the Willamut. I won't really touch on the Riverfront Park unless people want to talk about it. That work is really just cranking up with pretty large scale development there along the river. Obviously, there's going to, you know, that said, there is, you know, you know, there's going to be a lot of native riparian plantings done in that site as well. So a pretty, you know, hardened landscape, I would say, you know, designed as a urban plaza type amenity with, you know, lots of places for active, for Eugene to engage with the river in an active way, but also some, as I said, some native riparian planting to try to at least soften that impact.
I would just like to have a little pitch on, there has been a couple of video tours, I think on Facebook, that Emily Proudfoot has done, and I've enjoyed watching them, and they do take questions. So if anybody is interested in that area, I would suggest you could go on Facebook, and I think it's Parks and Open Space, and
Yep.
look at that. And
Follow our website. Emily's trying to do tours of it as it progresses. It's a pretty one of those kind of, if you're interested in construction projects, it's one of those big ones where there's a lot going on, and it's complicated and fascinating in that way. So let's see, there's a number of kind of other things. I guess I want to just ask, I had something on here on Priest Trail lighting. I sounded like Vicki was going to talk a little bit about the micro mobility stuff. I just want to make sure if people have questions that, we could use this time for you to ask me questions.
I see nothing.
Okay, and hearing nothing, you can always reach out to me and give you whatever information I can.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jesse.
Yep.
thanks. Eric, now would you want to have any highlights from Willamette?
Sure. So yeah, hopefully everyone had a chance to review the memo that Fraser put together. A lot of activity, kind of seasonally typical for us in terms of vegetation maintenance, opening up trails, the beginning of our COVID response situation. Things got a little thick out there, and we eventually got caught up. Fraser and Brett have also been helping out getting things ready for the Willamette River Festival in coordination with Salmon and the committee members. So excited to see that event kick off and how it progresses here over the next couple of weeks in August. We've got some new volunteers that we've recruited here in the last couple of weeks, in some ways to help us backfill the fact that due to budget limitations related to COVID, we don't have any seasonal staff within our Park Services division this summer. So not just within the Natural Resources Program, but throughout our park maintenance staff. So we are stretching ourselves to meet the ongoing needs within the park system and responding to those demands as best we can. But certainly volunteer contributions are going to be a huge factor for us, and we really appreciate those folks who have responded to that need going forward. Camping and some of the other issues that are pretty typical for us to be managing during this time of year have been, I would say, on par from year to year. For whatever reason, I think Eugene, well, probably because they opened up their whole park system in some ways to camping, took the brunt of that over the last couple months, and particularly in response to some of the stressors that were placed on the community through COVID. I would say overall throughout our park system, we have seen a pretty significant uptick in vandalism, graffiti, other acts of kind of public frustration, I would say, perhaps related to just the general tenor of things right now. But we are responding to those as quickly and completely as we can, given our current staffing levels. On a positive note in that regard, we've just brought on board our new park ranger. His name is Alan Klein. Comes to us with about a decade of experience in National Park Service. Really excited to get him on board. He just finished his required training through the Department of Public Safety earlier this week. So we'll start getting him out into the parks and natural areas and helping us maintain good stewardship of those spaces. So be sure to say hi and introduce yourselves if you see Alan out in the park. Let's see what else we've got going on. A couple things in terms of our coordination with City of Eugene. I believe maybe the last quarterly meeting that the committee held, Jesse had mentioned an assessment of the Canoe Canal intake structure that is on the Eastgate, Willamut side of I-5. You're probably all familiar with the concrete and steel structure that's out there in the river, and the water flows from the main channel underneath the parking area at Aspen and then empties out into the Canoe Canal. So reconstruction of that outlet will be forthcoming. Jesse, what's the current timetable for that? Do you know?
We're working on the contract documents, the bid documents right now. We've kind of handed that work over to our engineering end of the city, who are really good at this kind of stuff. You know, the general plan is to rebuild, you know, basically redo the electrical system in the vault, replace the gearing that controls the gate, potentially replace the remote float valve that controls water level in the Canoe Canal, and put a new lid on it. So it's going to be a pretty good sized project where we are really excited to have something that we feel can be safe for the general public. And that's a segue to you probably as well, Eric.
Yeah, so Wilamut's portion of that project in partnership with City Eugene is to pay for a replacement of the security safety fencing around the perimeter of that concrete structure. And we've got that teed up, and we'll probably be moving forward here within the next month or so, depending on availability of the contractor. But it'll be somewhat of an upgrade in that the current fencing is just an open 4-inch mesh. Doesn't really provide much of a deterrent for folks who might otherwise intentionally or unintentionally find themselves in that immediate area of the outlet. So looking forward to improving the safety of that space and still provide for enjoyment, responsible enjoyment of the public. Somewhat related to that, in our capital improvement program, for the last 2 years, we had a scheduled expenditure of funds to do some upgrade and renovation of the facilities at the trailhead there at Eastgate Woodlands, Willamette Natural Area. We put that on hold for fiscal year 20, just given some of the budgetary challenges that we were facing in the last quarter of fiscal year 20. But we've decided we can go ahead and move forward with those. We're in a good position. So what that will entail is a refurbishment of the kiosk that was installed there a number of years ago. It's in need of just some TLC. Some of the footings are starting to deteriorate. The wood structure could use some refinishing. And then we also realized it would probably be a really good idea to coordinate with our partners in the City of Eugene to replicate and mirror content on the kiosk maps related to the overall multi-use pass system, Prees Trail, and then also expand content with respect to the Calpullia Talking Stones. So we've been working with City of Eugene staff on those new panels, map panels. Probably have drafts of those ready. I think current timetable is sometime within the middle of September. And certainly we would want to have the committee take a look at those, review, and provide any comments before we finalize them. But that's kind of what's on the plate for us at the moment.
Great. Yeah, that might be a good opportunity for our outreach subcommittee to provide some feedback on that. That'd be great. Thank you, Eric.
You bet.
So I think we'll move along to, I should ask, is there any questions for Eric?
I have a question.
David?
Eric, the kiosk is dedicated to Wayne Hill. I assume that plaque will stay up.
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So we'll get to our subcommittee reports, and first I would go to, I believe, Tilka. Are you gonna, for a Talking Stone subcommittee?
Yes, yep. It's fairly short. So the Talking Stone Subcommittee would like to welcome our new members, Martha Clifford and Sam Stroick, to our committee. Welcome, formally. We've been meeting together, so this is just a formal introduction. So yes, we have met frequently these past few months, and we're getting really good at Zoom together. So we've been discussing some issues related to the bench and the talking stone, which we motioned on at our last meeting, and that is ongoing. And we do plan to meet with Chris Wigg, with Eric, and with Mike Wargo, and also a new soon-to-be hired diversity liaison sometime in the near future. And so that's all I have. Back to you, Vicki.
Thanks. Any questions? Okay. Well, we'll move on to the excuse me, Government Relations Subcommittee. So I'd sent out the report, and I would like to ask, speaking back on the e-scooters and other mobility devices that were going through the park, I would like to have all CPC members consider different concerns or questions that we could formulate all together. I'm going to send out a little email and start a string of if anybody does have any comments or questions. And I thought that way we could gather it all up, and then I could send it to Jesse, that he could find the, be able to forward it to the appropriate people to give us some answers, and maybe give everybody a week or two, a couple of weeks to be able to think about it. I know that it's been coming down the line, and that we've seen a few of these devices, as Bill had pointed out, that are going through the park, but there are some concerns. So I'll be sending that out after our meeting this evening. Does anybody have any questions on the report we sent out? Joseph?
I think Jesse sent out a map of the proposed lighting, that paths that we're going to get lighting. And Jesse, I couldn't make heads or tail out of which path was which. The map didn't have any street signs or names. And I was trying to figure out which trails were targeted for the lighting. And if, like Bill said, it seems to me that if people are going to commuting back and forth, when it gets to wintertime, they'll be commuting when it's dusk, and the lights in the commuting path that we're going to, if we're going to appropriate a specific path between Springfield and Eugene, or two, depending on how they approach it, it seems like those would go hand in hand. They would want to have lights on them. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I don't know which pass is which. Could you explain that?
So you can see here, this is Cuthbert Amphitheater. And
okay, yeah, I did see
cursor.
Okay.
And then this is the north-south path that runs to Autzen Stadium that connects to the Frohnmeyer Bridge.
This pink one?
This, can
that
you see my
one
cursor?
there. Oh, okay. All right.
So these lighting loops are all west of the Autzen Autzen footbridge, Autzen Stadium connector. They are certainly bordering the Willamut natural area. So they're not formally in the Willamut. They are sections of the Prees Trail that are pretty heavily used both by the running community and of course by others who are walking the paths at night in the more developed portion of the park. And the project is designed to provide downlit LED with a warm color spectrum that's relatively wildlife sensitive. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Does that answer your questions? It's really not associated at all with the landfill cap area or with bike commuting or any of that.
Yeah, that answers it. That makes it nice. Thank you. My battery on my computer's getting low, so I'm going to have to move.
Okay. Thanks, Jesse.
Yep.
So I guess we'll move to Wildlife Habitat Subcommittee.
Charlotte has her hand up.
Oh, sorry. Charlotte?
when you send out that that survey or something for us to talk about the scooters or electric, whatever, can you put some specifics around what exactly these are?
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'll just say also that, you know, as I said in my update, Public Works, our transportation staff had every intention to do a direct reach out to the CPC. It's really up to you guys. If you really don't want to talk to them directly and you just want to converse via email or however you want to do that, that's fine. But I think you should know that if you desire, you could certainly have a meeting where you were all present and you could talk directly to the folks who are designing this this system.
Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, I'm sure we're going to want to have some kind of input.
Who is actually working on it then?
Well, it's Rob Interfeld's team. These are the folks who are responsible for all the transportation. You know, Lee Shoemaker is the Alt Modes transportation coordinator. You've got a number of folks in that team who are really all about providing alt mode transportation in this community.
Okay. Thank you. Now, Laurel?
Okay, so the Wildlife and Habitat Committee really has not been doing much work, obviously, because COVID-19 has kind of prevented us from doing the work that generally happens with this particular committee. And I mean, we've discussed a couple of things over the months, but we're kind of sitting back waiting to find out, you know, what the city's doing. We know that they haven't been doing a whole lot because they're restricted just like everybody else. So Wildlife and Habitat really hasn't been that active. I anticipate we're gonna be, as soon as we can get things moving along again, we're gonna loop back to Lori Holt and Jesse for some of the iNatural things that we spoke about before, and just try to get involved in some of that pod planting that was going to be going on. And that was one thing that really sparked a lot of interest when we met with you, Jesse, in the park. So I think that will be ongoing. It probably won't be happening immediately, but my thinking is that we should have enough interest in doing something with City of Eugene, and as soon as we can get that moving along, we'll communicate with you at that point. So that's really all I got on that one.
Just respond quickly to that. I think, you know, we're kind of I think we met, you know, in February, I think it was, and it was really, you know, a little late into the season for planting and that sort of thing. So I think we'll be looking to start getting some plans together as we get into fall about winter planting involving the CPC. So I'm excited about that.
Great. Thank you.
Outreach, I think maybe we've covered that. Ruth, did you want to say anything more?
Well,
or Laurel?
I'm hesitant to say anything. Go ahead.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing with outreach, although admittedly the outreach committee has kind of been a little dormant, mainly because some of its members, you know, fell off with term limits and stuff like that. But it sounds like we may have enough interest to get that up and running again, which I guess Ruth will be happy to find out. And that's I think a lot of that's gonna focus on having sort of a more digital presence. And so, you know, we'll be asking people to help us participate, like Tilka with the photos, you know, all that kind of stuff is going to be integrated. And, you know, we're probably going to be getting more people involved with that aspect, which will be really good. I'm kind of excited about outreach. Terry?
It's kind of a comment on something quite a ways back, but I wanted clarification on the lighting. This is not lighting in the Willamette natural area, right? no lighting is allowed there.
I think that's correct. It's just Priest Trail west of the Willamut Natural Area, going all the way up to just to the bike path going to Autzen Stadium.
Correct.
Yeah. So the executive board met and mostly just put together the agenda, and I guess I don't really have much. That's mostly what we were dealing with. But we did have a question though, and I would be for Jesse, if I think you were going to check to see, Heron Bray was on our subcommittee and she had contacted me, I think it was in January, and I don't think she had contacted you. And how would we go about, do I need to write a letter to the city, to you, to say that we can open that position for the next round of applications?
I don't think so, and we don't really have a formal process for that. I mean, I reached out to her and never got a response. It's clear to me that she's resigned from the committee at this point. So I'm just going to make that note in my records, and I think you should do the same.
Okay.
I just a good opportunity just to remind people that it is really helpful. I mean, you guys are all volunteers. Life happens, and super thankful for everything you guys are doing to be a part of this committee. But if you need to resign, there's no shame in that. And I would I would just ask you, please, let us know. That's what you want, that you need to do that, and that's fine. There's never been a bad word said about somebody who resigned from the CPC. So I just want to say that, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so that could open up just another position, which would be fine when in Eugene, the application period is only from January to March. So I'll update ours. I didn't know if there was anything formal, so it doesn't sound like it, and we'll just move forward with that. So it seems like we're doing pretty well on time here, but I would hope everyone brought their schedules with them for scheduling a meeting in October. And I think, I'm not sure what life will be like, in 3 months, although it probably is going to require us to have a meeting again like this. So we've had experience with it already. And so I'm thinking that, Eric, was that something that Willamette could sponsor a Zoom meeting if we need to, or what would be, maybe we should pick a date first and then ask you where we might be able to, or if we should just assume that we're going to be meeting on Zoom. So in October, is there some preferred dates? In the past, we've usually met on a Thursday, the fourth Thursday of the month, but as you notice, it's not Thursday now, it's Wednesday. So I don't know, that maybe something different is in order, in line. So does anybody have any suggestions now that I'm trying to find the August calendar?
Hey, Vicki, can you do a doodle poll?
Okay.
That seems to be really convenient, and people typically respond pretty well to that. If that's okay with everyone, I think that would be the best way to accumulate that information.
This is for October?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, doodle sounds great.
Yep, looks like it has lots of.
Or did you want to pick a date today, Vicki?
Well, normally we do pick a date, but I could do a doodle poll. Maybe that would be easier for everyone concerned then. So I'll just send out one to the the committee and the liaisons, and we can all see when would be a good time.
Jesse and Eric, do either of you have any scheduling conflicts in like that last week that you know about yet, or?
I do not. That, you know, the fourth Thursday would work fine for me, or the fourth Wednesday. That works for, you know, but I'm pretty flexible as long as it's not like the first couple of days of October.
Yeah, for our side, kind of the only major event that we typically have later in October is the haunted hayride at Doris Ranch. But that tends to be the second, third week in October. And again, much like your meetings, we really aren't sure how the format of that's going to be this year. But regardless, if you do want to meet and we have to do it digitally, virtually, I'm sure we can come up with either Zoom or one of the other handy virtual meeting softwares to make that happen.
Excellent. All right, so I think the last item would just be any future meeting topics, and I think that's if anybody has anything now, or that would be just before our adjournment. We could chat about that just after the meeting too, unless someone wanted to throw out something. All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone being able to navigate this new type of meeting that the CPC is having. And I appreciate you all coming and participating. And I think we shared a lot of good information. And it was good to see the faces of the people. And hopefully someday we'll be able to all meet in person again. But this is a great substitute. And I think I appreciate all your work that everyone's working on in this tough times, and the parks departments too. So I guess I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Joseph.
Second.
And David is seconding it. Great. So we'd like to adjourn the meeting, but I'd ask all the CPC members to stay on, and we could chat about some future topics to explore.
Thank you.
So thanks, Jesse, for setting up the Zoom, and Eric for your input. And I thank Renee for coming, and the Park Nearby Nature crew that's doing a great job. Thank you so much. And we'll all be in touch because I think there's more graffiti. Renee, I hope you thank you for attending our meeting, and hopefully you got a good sense of the CPC here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Welcome, everybody, new members, and good seeing you all. Take care.